Hello, good morning. Our first issue is drone attack on Jammu and Kashmir Air Force Station. It was suspected that drones were used in dropping these bombs. This is the first instance of drone attack on Indian defense installation. Drones were used earlier. Drones were used earlier to smuggle the drugs, to smuggle the weapons into India, to conduct the aerial survey. Since 2017, many drone incidents have happened. But this is the first time the drone attack has happened on a defense installation. It is suspected that remote operated drones might have been used in this particular thing. Then why can't the Indian Air Force or why can't the Indian Army detect these drones? Because these drones fly at a low level. That's why these will be undetected by the radars. In this context, use of anti-drone jammers would be the way forward. Here we have to know this particular point. For the first time, weaponized drones were used for terror attacks by the Islamic State in 2016. After that, they used in Syria and in many cases. Next issue is Bhutan's request for vaccines. Recently, Delta variant cases were found in Bhutan. Earlier, India has promised Bhutan under Vaccine Maitri program that we will provide some vaccine doses on free basis. But we suspended that scheme or program because we had less supply of vaccines. India has imposed vaccine export ban. This has constrained Bhutan in procuring the vaccines. Now, Bhutan is finding non pharmaceutical solutions. What are these non pharmaceutical solutions? Use of masks, better use of sanitizers. So, through behavioral change, they want to control COVID 19 in their country. Now, they are also waiting for COVAX facility, which is a joint facility of WHO and other international organizations, and it is also requesting for USA's promise on vaccines. But as of now, these two have not reached Bhutan. It's requesting India because we already promised, and the areas near to the Indian border, they are experiencing high number of cases. So, in this context, Bhutan is requesting for India's help. Next issue is sharing nuclear site information with IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. It's a UN specialized body. It is called as UN Nuclear Watchdog. In 2015, Iran and 6 countries, P5 plus Germany, these countries, they have signed a deal which is called as Iran Nuclear Deal informally, but official name is JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Under that particular plan, regular monitoring of Iran's nuclear sites have been agreed upon. But last year, USA's government has withdrawn from this agreement unilaterally. After that, this regular monitoring and inspection of nuclear sites in Iran, it was also suspended. In this case, recently Iran said we are not going to share any information, not even photos, with IAEA unless this deal is revived. So now already Iran and USA are in talks, but this deal, it is suspended because of USA's unilateral withdrawal. Next, let us understand the editorials of the day. First one is FATF and Grey List. Financial Action Task Force. It has 37 countries and two regional groups, so overall 39 members. The objective of FATF is to maintain the integrity of the financial system. And FATF places the countries, they need not be member countries, places the countries that are threat to financial integrity. Let's say a particular country is supporting money laundering or a particular country is not taking any action in terror funding. They'll be placed under 2 lists. One is grey list, second one is black list. Pakistan is placed in grey list from 2019 to 15, now again from 2018 to 2021. Pakistan was given 27-point action plan. FATF said that you implement these 27, we will think on removing you from grey list. They implemented 26 and they didn't on 1 point. That is, failure to convict the UN designated terrorists such as Masood Azhar, etc. In this context, Pakistan requested FATF saying that, see, we have implemented 26 points that you have given. Why don't you remove us from grey list? They said, No, this is important. You haven't implemented it fully. That's why we are continuing you in the grey list. Then Pakistan criticized India, saying that India is lobbying in FATF to make us to stay in the grey list. It is politicizing. That's the criticism of Pakistan. But if you look at the ground situation, it is doing for the sake of doing. Pakistan is not proactively taking action on the terror activities. Yes? Next issue is rights of India's sexual minorities. Rights of LGBT community is important. Under our Indian constitution, all citizens, irrespective of gender and sex, are provided with equal rights. In this context, if we consider important Supreme Court judgments such as Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India, in this particular case, Section 377 of IPC, which criminalizes the consensual sex between LGBT community, it has been removed, struck down as unconstitutional. Earlier we had this case which is called as an important case, a watershed case in LGBT rights, that is Nas Foundation versus Government of NCT Delhi. In this case, it has struck down section 377, but again Supreme Court in Suresh Kumar Kaushal case versus Nas Foundation in 2013 restored section 377. Finally, in 2018, as we discussed earlier, in Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India case, we removed this particular section. This is clearly in line with Article 15 of Indian Constitution, Article 21 of Indian Constitution. It provides for no discrimination on sex. In 1996, South Africa became the first country to constitutionally prohibit the discrimination on sexual orientation. This is also one of the important things. UK, United Kingdom, has passed Alan Turing Law, providing for equal rights for all communities and decriminalizing all the activities related to LGBT community. It has retrospectively provided automatic pardon to all the people who were convicted under various laws that discriminate the LGBT community. In India, now the debate is on same-sex marriages. In this context, we have to take cue from all these things, all these Supreme Court judgments, and rights of sexual minorities needs to be protected and provided for. Next issue is countering the pandemic. Now we are in the second wave. It is expected that in next few weeks, third wave might hit India. In this context, elastic health infrastructure is needed. How do we make elastic health infrastructure? Whenever it is needed, we expand. Whenever it is not needed, we contract. How can we do this? There needs to be mobility in health infrastructure, including human resources. Wherever there is necessity, their health infrastructure need to be moved out. Let's say building hospitals, etc. These are not movable. They need to be taken on urgent priority, but other things, let's say oxygen concentrators, etc., these can be moved. The movable health infrastructure can be moved, but immovable health infrastructure needs to be given priority. For this, coordination across the states and districts is necessary, especially based on the real-time data analysis. If you observe recently, AP and Maharashtra, AP and Odisha, these states, they are coordinating in sharing the health infrastructure such as oxygen concentrators. This is needed. But first of all, government should identify which regions require much support, which regions need more mobility, etc. For that, real-time data analysis is important. Next issue, final issue and important one is power of apology. This can be used in your essays and ethics. Recently, Germany has apologized Namibia for Herero and massacre of Herero and Nama people that has happened in 1904 to 1908. France has provided for apology to Rwandan massacre, Rwandan country in Africa, Rwandan massacre. In 2017, Canada has apologized to India for Komagatamaru incident. And apology need not be a weakness. Apology requires courage. It requires goodwill. It requires compassion and humility. It requires good moral compass. In this context, apology has the power to change, power to heal the wounds. Yes? Thank you very much. All the very best.